Monday, January 15th, and the Dome Foamers podcast is back. I'm your host, Christian Kruger, and I'm here as always with Neil Mieski and Brian Dorton. We're just lifelong Astros fans that love to talk about the Astros and sprinkle in some college football. So, boys, let's go. Episode 36. That would be episode 36. As stated in the opening, it is Monday, January 15th. We're going to touch on some Astros news that happened this week because we are Dome Foamers, and then transition to a little bit of the college football world. But before we get into all that, boys, how are we doing with the polar vortex that has hit the great state of Texas?
Cold.
It's cold. It's cold, buddy. It's cold.
Little icy out
We're not
there.
even as cold as you guys are, and I'm cold.
Yeah, offline we
got-
were talking about that. I think Neil's school district is off tomorrow, canceled. Dorton, in the great city of Pearland, decided to call it like at 6 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, they had
And
their mind made up.
God's country, New Braunfels, which is probably the coldest of the bunch, we haven't had a drop of precipitation, and we're going to school, and I am fired up.
Yep. The girls will be here tomorrow, and but work hasn't changed. I am working tomorrow, so this will be fun.
Yeah, it will be.
Another day, both working and making sure kids don't overrun the house.
Yeah, it's
So
unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I'm not going to be able to really do any work tomorrow. Just quality family time is what I'm looking forward to, guys.
Yeah, you bet.
I take it as a blessing. I've got all three of my kids here and just feel very blessed. Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed.
Because if it's hashtag blessed, it just means more.
Means more. Absolutely.
I'm
Very
sure
excited.
your wife is excited.
It's thrilling.
So let's talk about our title sponsor real quick. Two Gringos Chupacabra and the fan favorite pack. Here we go. I'm trying to get that in the screen there on our YouTube channel. We will do some stuff on social media. Two Gringos has been a sponsor for us for a while now. They've been great to us. You can look on twogringoschupacabra.com. That's the number 2, gringoschupacabra.com. You can put in Dome 15, still for 15% off. For all your grilling needs. It's the only spices and rubs we use. Check them out, and we thank the great people there at Two Gringos Chupacabra. Neil is our social media expert, and he'll put something out there, and we'll send one out every week to you for whatever it is that we end up put on a poll, a comment, or whatever it may be. Like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. We're obviously on Spotify and everything else, but we've gotten some feedback recently, and it's just fun to hear some of the feedback. So we appreciate those that have, and if you haven't, tell your mom's mom to like and subscribe. Boys, let's start with some Astros news.
All right.
So there's a bunch of stuff that hit today, but we're gonna go backwards first, talk about arbitration. For those that don't understand arbitration, when you become an official Major League Baseball player, you're under control for 6 years. The first 3 years are basically, minimum contracts unless you've come to agreement of another one. After those 3 years, you go into what is considered ARB1, ARB2, ARB3, just stands for arbitration. That means that you and the club can come to an agreement on a number based on your performance and based on the position you play and the salaries of said position. Every year you can go and get to agreement with the club, or you can go to arbitration where they'll have what's called an arbiter. That is a third party that hears your side, meaning the player side and the team side, and comes to a number. pretty surprised that the Astros came to agreements with every single player with the exception of one. Why can't I say his name? Mauricio, thank you. Dubon. He will go to arbitration, which an arbiter will decide what his number will be. Let's see here if I get it right. Obviously, Framber, Kyle Tucker, my boy Chaz, Brian Abreu, Luis Garcia, and Jose Urquidy. Is that everybody? I believe that's everybody.
That's them.
If you'd asked me to tell you who that one person was, I would have bet a large sum of money that it was going to be Tucker that going to arbitration.
I would agree. I would agree with you because last year he didn't, and he had to go to arbitration. I agree with you, Dorton. I was a little surprised. I think the Astros gave him the number that was basically pinned for him or projected for him because they want to try to at least say they did that to try to re-sign him. But I agree with you. I thought Chaz would go to arbitration. I did because of
why do you think that? Why was he? Why was he on your deal? Why was he on your radar? Because I'll tell you, mine was
because of his year. You know how good he performed, and I didn't think they would come to an agreement. And I think he's still bitter about Dusty. So maybe he's over it now that Dusty's gone, and he got a pay raise and was like, "Yeah, I'll take that number. Let's go."
Yeah, I mean it was a substantial one. I think he went from making like $750 to 2.8, like a $2 million raise.
No, it was. He had leverage though. I mean, let's be honest.
Sure.
He had leverage based on performance.
Yeah.
So who was yours, Neil?
So I was thinking Framber. I just thought that would be because there's a lot of wiggle room in Framber in expected performance and actual performance, and the three playoff starts he had, they all were losses, and so they're just the year that Framber had was a little dicey, and so again that there's some wiggle room, and to see that he ended up getting 12 million, that was a pretty big number in my eyes. That I think if I'm Framber, I snatch that up rather quickly myself.
Yeah.
I mean, lefty starting pitching is so rare. I mean, I'm not. There's no way I'm gonna disagree with you because he's got leverage too. I mean, I agree with you. I have noticed over the years, and I know we've talked about this offline, and I'm just telling you what I've seen. This is not Latin players come from basically nothing. And so they are easier usually to negotiate contracts with or arbitration than when an American-born player goes to arbitration or free agency. And that's just, I mean, go ahead and document that and research that. It's fact.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right.
$12 million to Fromber is a lot of money.
Sure. I was just thinking that it wouldn't have gone because I have him down as making $6.8 million last year, and to dang near double that amount on a year that wasn't a stellar year. Just seems like, I mean, especially when you're talking about the Astros in a situation where they're being squeezed, could they have gotten away with 11 million? Those are the types of things that could they have pinched pennies and saved a mill per se in a situation like that. But I mean, we may look back at this conversation and say we stole Fromber for 12 million.
Yeah,
I hope.
Well,
that would be great.
I mean, I get it. It's hard to talk about anyone's getting paid 12 million a year, but for market value, we are stealing him because he's under control. Right. We really are. We're stealing Kyle Tucker too.
Sure.
And if you really want to break it down,
he was 12 million also, right?
He was. We're God, I love all these 12s being talked about. We're stealing Chaz based on his performance and the fact that Brian Abreu is 1.75, I believe. Holy crap.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the I mean, minus we don't get him the first two games, but if he gives us 163 games of what he did last year, that would be absolute stolen. The most stolen
160.
160, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. But it so for those that don't understand, ARB 1 is a projected amount, then ARB 2, then ARB 3. So those do generally, based on your performance, go up stair step each year. Just so that's kind of where the money gets it changes, let's say. But I read that Dubon is asking for 3.5. The Astros are saying 3. It's actually pretty important because based on projections on Fangraphs and Roster Resource, the Astros are about $680,000 below the luxury tax. So
that extra 500 could come into play.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be good, but I mean, they're going to want to save every penny they can get. It's not set in stone until all arbitration cases are done and then the start of the year. But I'm talking about we've talked about this for months. There's just no wiggle room. I remember we got feedback from one of the podcasts, and Neil, I know you saw it. Like someone said, it's all wrong. We have $30 million of room.
Right.
I wish I remember that person. Where's the $30 million of room? Because it's not there.
Nope.
687,000 to an organization is like us talking about dimes and nickels.
Yeah, man, it's just limiting, right? I mean, it's just going to limit us, and without having some sort of trade, which I don't know that at this point anything is lining up for that matter. And
I think there'll be another. I think there'll be another wave.
You think there'll be another move?
No, I just think there'll be another wave of spring. Usually you get to spring training and clubs are like, ooh, we might need to make. You know what I mean? Like other clubs might be like, yeah, okay, we definitely need a center fielder. We definitely need bullpen help. Oh, we definitely need a controlled starter. So, right. Once they get their eyes on people, they usually see them. I don't know. I know if I was the Astros GM, I would make a move, but that's been documented.
Who are you? Are you still going with pitching?
You mean to trade?
Yeah, I mean, like who? What are your gaps? And this could kind of.
I would trade my first move. I would trade Jake Myers for bullpen or starter help.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would because he's going to be in demand, and you could probably get either a leveraged bullpen arm or a controlled starter and a prospect for a center fielder of his defensive capability. So that would be my first move. Then I would see who bites on. At this point, I would see who bites on Urquidy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was reading Brian McTaggart's. He put out something the other day just talking about it. Looks like as far as pitching goes, I mean, we're just going to be using the J.P. Francis, the Blancos, the Forrest Whitley. He was a name, but as far as bullpen for the time being, it may just be what we've got, and seeing how that works, and seeing what we have may accelerate a exchange of Jake Myers or your Urquidy type guy, and see how the pieces fall come next month.
Well, here's who we know is going to be on the roster. We know Presley, Abreu, Montero, Graveman. Those guys are going to be on the roster. So then that frees up. I don't have the math in front of me, the roster, but that frees up probably 2 to 3, probably 3 bullpen arms, right?
So we picked up the Dylan Coleman.
Correct. But I mean,
I'm not saying he has to be on the roster for sure. And then you've had a guy like Seth Martinez that's been around long enough. I'm not saying he's the guy, but other names, some lefties that we've played with, but the Matt Gage, Bennett Sosa, and Parker Mushinski.
Miezki. Yeah,
and so yeah, I mean, are those guys that proven themselves yet and are worthy of being deemed on our roster, or are they trade pieces? I mean, I know they're not valuable necessarily, but can seal a deal perhaps.
Well, Dylan Coleman has a power sinker. He was hurt a little bit last year, so I mean he's going to get a long look at spring training, see what he's got. So what people don't understand, that the casual fan, is the Seth Martinez's, the Parker Mieskis, the Matt Gages of the world. They've been up and down. The Ronel Blancos of the world. They only have so many options. So either they have to stay on, or they get what's called DFA, designated for assignment, and they go into, I believe, what's called waivers for a week. Someone can pick them up, and then if they're not picked up, then they go back down to the minors.
Right.
If they can.
Correct. Dylan Coleman has got some options, so I think that's one of the reasons why we picked him up. It would be saying that I would be say I'm in the Astros pitching coach shoes. I would be taking a long look at Colton Gordon, Spencer Arringhetti.
Sure.
Now maybe you don't want to start the clock right away. You bring them up after a little polish of in AAA to start the year, but those guys have to be factored in, just like JP France and others have to be factored in as well. It's that's really, Neil, to your point. I mean, that's why I would have Jake Myers on the block for a power arm, because after you get through Abreu and Graveman and Montero and Presley, honestly, if you broke those guys down, there's only one power arm in that group, and that's Abreu. Those other guys are not power arms.
No.
And so I would dangle Myers out there all day long for a power arm.
That's fair.
Sure.
I don't
disagree.
Your Kitty's going to have value because he can be a back end starter for you. He's got experience, got playoff experience, and he's controllable. And so I'm not saying, but if you're going to trade a controllable arm, you probably need to want to get a controllable arm or a bullpen arm back.
Right. And it just comes down to, the Arringhetti, these young guys that you may, like you said, not want to start up in the major league club. And so if those guys aren't there, who's our starters then? Right. And so, I mean, you don't have McCullers, you don't have Garcia. And so who's left? Because then you're talking about the JP Francis, the Blancos having to start along with obviously Verlander and Fromber. But then, are you putting, I mean, where are you putting
So day one, you have Verlander, Fromber, Javier. Your Kitty.
Okay.
I mean, right now, because he's not been traded. And then what is it? Who's fighting for fifth? JP France? Am I missing somebody?
Verlander Jr. Yeah, Verlander.
Oh yeah,
Jr.
Hunter Brown. Yeah. I mean, Hunter Brown's a 5. I've got no problem with.
Right, but you also know, are we going to go a 6-man rotation early in the year?
At some point, we will, no doubt.
So again, dropping your Urquidy off someplace else early on for a bullpen, let's say, well, we're still light on starters if you're not pulling up any of those minor league arms, those young guys. So
I don't want to talk about Forrest Whitley till he actually does something. I'm done. Been there. I've been done for 3 years on him. I'm sure he'll get a look. I have been following a little bit of Spencer Arringhetti in this winter. He's developed a sinker. So, I mean, the dude is getting ramped up to be a player. Obviously he's got to do it. He's got to do it in the spring. If you told me right now, no, he's not going to be on the roster day one, but I bet you in May, June.
Think so, huh? I hope. I mean, if he's, hopefully he puts the pressure on those guys to make a decision.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be also another would be nice to have.
Yeah, and Gordon,
Yes.
Gordon's a college pitcher that throws 94, 95 from the left side. Probably, I mean, I don't want to pigeonhole the guy. Probably not a starter. I would think he would be a wipeout lefty in the bullpen. Maybe he is. But I mean, he's got to put pressure on him too because he's got the best stuff of any lefty in the organization. They got another kid that's down in single A that had really great numbers, Troy Dombrowski. He's got some stuff, but he's got a little ways to go. But he's a lefty too that I've been watching. But yeah, man, I mean the roster is basically the roster.
Right. Minus any trades. That's the discussion here is we've got who we've got. Now let's where do we plug him in? Right.
Yeah.
And so be interesting.
Yep. And, I want to transition a little bit to still Astro stuff, but today they signed 9 international players. I want people to understand and listen to the Dumb Boomers, understand something. Every publication, everything on social media, everything you read, every .com says the Astros farm system is trash. I don't think it's trash. I don't think it's great. It's not deep. I understand that. But as much as the Astros have not done well with draft picks and had draft picks taken away and traded pieces away, what the Astros do a damn good job, probably better than almost anybody, is in the international draft. And they do.
Right.
Look at who is on the team right now from the international draft. Jose Altuve. He was not drafted. He was an international pickup. Christian Javier, Framber Valdez, Luis Garcia, Jose Urquidy, Brian Abreu, I believe, as well. Yordan Alvarez was by the Dodgers, and then we stole them for Josh Fields. So if you think about that for a second, those were all international pickups. So today, I just wanted to make note, some of these guys I've heard of and I've been following. Most of them are 19, 18, and 17 years old. There was a 16-year-old picked up. There was a 20-year-old that got the highest slot. He's a pretty polished center fielder named Cesar Yanquel Hernandez. He got a lot of money. So, a couple of Cubans, which the Astros lead the major leagues in Cuban-born players, which I'm all for. Those guys rake. So, just FYI, there's 9 players are going to hit the system here in a couple of weeks. Some of them were expected. Some of them they took flyers on. Yep, said flyers. And the Astros have done a hell of a job internationally finding these guys from the Latin America, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, all that stuff. So
will they start? Where will they start? Most of them will they?
That's completely up to the organization. So some of them will go. Some of them will go into rookie ball, single A. Yeah. Some of them will go to high A. Some of them will go to what's called the Florida Gulf Coast League, which will be basically the complex league, meaning they'll stay around Florida and play other teams' prospects for a while, and then based on how they perform, they promote them up within the system. So the Cesar Yanquil Hernandez will probably start an A ball. He's probably advanced enough to start an A, high A. He's played a lot of baseball and some very competitive baseball. The younger guys will probably start in the complex league and see what they do from there.
All right.
Bunch of outfielders.
That's exciting.
Bunch of outfielders, and then a few pitchers and a couple of, I believe, a third baseman. So yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and there was one that was a catcher. I was trying to look him up and read about him. I couldn't find much on him, but that's always interesting to. I mean, that's just a position that grabs your attention a little bit too.
100%. The next Yanier Diaz
could be.
So
speaking of him, speaking of Yanier, sorry, no, go ahead. And I know this means absolutely nothing, but I think MLB ranked him like the 7th or 8th top catcher in the MLB.
I saw
Did you
that.
happen to catch any of that?
I did. I project to be top five. I project to be top five.
Well, I wanted to reach out, and this is a segue to the next thing, but I wanted to reach out to Dusty and thank him. And maybe that was what Dusty was wanting us to thank him for.
Yes, Brian's dad was hired by the Giants to be special assistant to the vice president or GM. I mean, it's
Great.
unbelievable.
Just hope he makes their lineups out.
Great. I hope he. I wish him and the Giants all the best.
How does he keep getting hired? Man. How does he keep getting hired?
The Giants have forgotten what he did for them or to them.
God. Have we? Yeah. Do we know has it been made clear what we need to thank him for again?
Not yet. I don't know. I mean, he'll let us know, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward. I mean, you let us know when we're supposed to when that thank you is due, and we'll think about it. And
without pulling the schedule card now, do the Giants go? Do the Giants go to come to Minute Maid? Because if so, I want to go there and boo him.
No, well, you know, Dusty's not traveling.
Oh, that's true.
He is definitely not traveling.
He's big time now. I have to look that up.
He's front office. He should where he thinks he should have been the whole way.
I do want to say something. Our lovely Dome Foamer Brian Dorton was at the Houston Marathon this weekend. No, boys and girls. He did not run it.
Oh.
But he was there.
I mean, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to. You could have just let the listeners assume.
Well, I was giving a shout out to.
Yeah, I think they did assume.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was giving a shout out to our boy Robert K. Piewitz.
RKP killed it.
Who ran, I believe, 3 hours and 19 minutes, qualified for the Boston Marathon. That my wife and I really want to try to go to that because I've never been to Boston. I want to take in a game at Fenway and show up for Piewitz in the Boston Marathon. So it was down in Houston. I wanted to say a shout out to RKP for qualifying for the Boston Marathon.
Big time. I'll tell you what, I met him very soon after the race, and your boy over here was moving slower than he was after running 26 miles. So I was like, oh, all right. I see. I understand. Yeah, he killed it, man. He killed it.
That's impressive.
All right. Yeah, it is. All right. So
the Astros go to San Francisco in June 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Road trip?
So there you have it.
That's it. Man, that's one of my I'm not gonna lie.
Signs.
That's one of my favorite ballparks I've ever been in. The ballpark's unreal. All right. Anything else on the Astros before we transition a little bit?
I think we're good. I think we hit all the hot spots there.
So, all right, let's do. We've done a couple of weeks. We've done a little college football talk. So, excuse me. Let's get into it real quick. Michigan won the national championship. Thank you. I predicted that.
Kind of.
What?
Oh, yes. Before the year started.
Oh, for the beginning of the season. Okay.
And
I mean, if you pick more than
I do
once,
remember a certain horns up over here. Big time horns up.
And you two picked Washington to win the game.
Yeah,
correct. I certainly did. I certainly did.
If I get enough picks, I'll eventually get it right.
Yeah. I'm not really, I'll be honest, I'm not excited about it at all. What I was getting at is the fact that I did choose the Michigan Wolverines. I also said that Jim Harbaugh is leaving to go to the NFL. Now, there is no confirmation of that other than he interviewed for the Chargers today. He's not coming back to Michigan.
I don't see how he would.
I fought it a little bit last week during the game.
Yeah, you did.
And, the more I'm hearing, we talk about Saban leaving and just the absolute craziness that these guys have to go through in college football with the portal and now with NIL and obviously I don't think we've talked about this in text either, but Florida State getting hit on the wrist for doing it wrong. And I mean, just gets to the point to where you can't blame these guys for not wanting to play this 365 day a year gig.
Yeah.
No, you're dead on, and it's worse than ever. So look, I want to preface this. I'm a college football guy. The NFL just doesn't do it for me anymore for a number of reasons I'm not going to get into. But when you have kids, you have to pick. All right, I'm going to stay a college football guy. Sunday is going to be a day where I don't watch football, but there's a whole nother reasons for that, and that's for another day. So we know my wife, Jason Washington is someone that we know. He was at U of H. He lived with my brother for a little bit, then came to Texas with Tom Herman. Now he was at Mississippi State with Mike Leach. Now I don't know where he is with Mike. With that staff being let go, Zach, whatever his name was, that got fired. But I've saw him multiple times. This was before COVID. Leave the church service multiple times to give him his phone. And one time I went to the bathroom and I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Can't talk to him on the phone, but I can Twitter message. I can private message him on Twitter." And he's just sitting there. Like, I'm just like, it never stops. And this was pre-NIL, pre-portal.
Right.
Man.
And yes, here's the give and take. I mean, the NFL, they will get rid of you like that. They will fire you after 1 year. They'll fire you after 2 years. So you have to understand that. Now, yes, you actually have a life because the GM finds the players. There's not recruiting. There's a draft. There's free agency. You actually have some time to yourself. College, you got none. Now, I'm not going to sit here and cry a river till I see what some of these guys are being paid. I'd be more than happy to do it for a year and then get fired, and you can buy me out. Okay?
Yeah. I've heard of a guy in the College Station area that turned out pretty well for him, actually.
Yeah, I bet you he doesn't live in the College Station area anymore.
No, I bet not.
My point being is, you're right, Neil, and Saban even basically said,
right,
at 72, I can't give what I used to could give, everything that's asked of us as a staff, and that was one of his biggest reasons why he retired.
Yeah, and really that interview was the thing that kind of jabbed me in my brain as far as when the guy at the top of the top in this profession says,
the GOAT.
Yeah, I mean, he basically came out and says, "Look, I can't keep the pace like I need to, like I have to, and I can't promise these guys that I'm going to be here for the rest of their stay here." And so rather than lie and put these guys in, or whoever's behind me in a bind, I just rather just move along.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
I have a love-hate relationship with Darth Saban. There's a lot of things that I love. There's a lot of things that I can't stand. But he's the GOAT. He's got the skins on the wall and the rings on the wall. There's a couple of things I want to share about him because I know it's been shared all week, and it should be for his place in college football. But he had at Alabama 44 first-round draft picks and 29 losses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let that sink in for a minute. And then
more first rounders than losses.
Hey, by almost 15, double. By 15.
Yeah.
That's an insane stat. Another stat that I saw, from 2008 to 2022. 16, that doesn't add up right. 14 years. Am I doing my math right? Me at mathematician. I thought it was 16, but whatever those years are, it's a long time. His teams were ranked number one every single year at some point during the year. Yeah. And then the last thing I'm going to leave, and I'm going to turn over to you guys, see what your thoughts are. That recruit like 2 years ago that recorded his Zoom meeting with Saban. Did you ever see that?
I never saw that.
I never saw it.
Oh my gosh, it's one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. Some recruit had Nick Saban doing a Zoom with him because it was, a year or two after COVID. They were still doing a ton of Zooms, and he was recording it. And the whole time, Saban is sitting there trying to tell him, I said, look, you can go to X and you can go there. You're a top 75 player in the country, whatever. You can go wherever you want. Or you can come here, and the player that you practice against every day during the week is better than the player you'll practice against at the game on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yep.
And then he listed the examples of people that player could reach out to, and they were all first-round draft picks in the NFL.
Yeah, guys who came, sat for a minute, and ended up playing.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa. Who says no to that? Who says no to that guy?
Yeah, the sales tactic of wait your turn. I mean, that for a college kid, that's tough to sometimes swallow because you're talking about the elite.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, wait your turn, but also you're going to play against a better player in practice during the week than you will in the game on Saturday. Like,
correct.
What?
Right. Right. And if you do this in how many ever years, you'll be standing on the stage that you want to stand on and get the contract that you want to get, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and like you said, he could list 44 guys who did those things. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic without Saban. And then obviously, if you take away Saban and you take away Harbaugh, I mean, again, I think we talked about this last week. Those are the two guys you love to hate in this profession or in this college football. Yeah. So who becomes the next jackwagon?
Well, I can easily still hate Ryan Day. I can easily still hate Kelly. Lane.
Okay.
Happy to hate on them.
So the rumor's out there, and I'm gonna strictly say this: Harbaugh has not. There's just smoke, right? There's smoke that he did interview today with the Chargers. Supposedly the Raiders are interested too. It makes sense to go to the Chargers because he has a quarterback. Harbaugh's smart. They have Justin Herbert, however you pronounce his name, the Oregon guy, is a good quarterback. Harbaugh's not dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume that he takes that job. Do you know the rumor out there that Brian Kelly wants the Michigan job? Now, again,
oh my gosh.
Rumor.
Didn't take him long.
But that rumor is out there.
Well, I mean, he's so easy to hate, too. He's so easy to hate.
100%.
It didn't take him long to find something better.
You go take your fake Cajun accent and head on up north again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
it'll be interesting. I mean, Kalen DeBoer, who I think is a phenomenal football coach, he's going to walk into a situation like, I want to say the old Wizard of Oz, I'm not in Kansas anymore, but I'm not in Washington anymore. This just got real.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. The biggest portal transfer I've seen to date was what's his name that went to Texas from Alabama.
Isaiah Bond.
Bond, yeah. I haven't seen a whole lot more.
Isaiah Bond.
He was there. Wide receiver one.
Receiver. Linebacker went to Florida State. They've got a bunch of people in the portal. So it's going to be interesting.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting. which the portal now open. If your coach leaves, the portal then reopens for you for 30 days, and then you just get pillaged by everybody. Like,
yeah.
so the rumor that I've read this week, since Dorton brought it up, is Isaiah Bond was not happy with Milroe, like just the passing situation. So he was contemplating going in the portal. Saban and Tommy Rees talked him out of going into the portal. And then the next day or 2 days, Saban retired.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
Bond then files his paperwork to go in the portal, and Sark gets on a plane within hours and flies to Georgia to meet with him.
You bet.
It's crazy.
Well, I love this was the first time I've heard this from a college kid, but it was a business decision to go to Texas.
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
This is at least I applaud the kid for calling it what it is. It is a business decision.
I got an NIL deal, and I got a quarterback that can throw the rock consistently.
You bet.
Yeah. It's a crazy. It's a crazy world.
Yeah, and it just reiterates what we're saying about why some of these guys would want to stay in the college ranks and have to sort through the thousands of guys that are in the portal.
I don't want to. So driving the kids to school, whatever. I listen to Sirius XM's College Sports Today, and I don't remember who the coach was. This was like a week ago. This was right after the national. I think they were interviewing this coach. He wasn't in the national championship game, but he was a fairly well-known coach. I don't remember who it was. I'll find out. But they were saying, man, how do you do this with the portal and NIL and recruiting and, social media and all this? And he goes, you forgot something. They're like, what? Like, I spend more time recruiting my own players back.
Yeah.
Than I do.
You got to keep them.
He goes,
you got to keep them.
He goes, I had private meetings with 38 players on my team to try to make sure they were staying and keeping them. So not only are you doing all those things, you're recruiting your own players back because it's free agency, man. They can go into the portal
every year. There's something that needs to be done. I don't have the answer, but it's just not right. And it's gone from schools having all the power and the players having none to now flip-flop to where the players have all of it.
Well, the pushback you're always going to get, because I agree with you, Neil, something that doesn't need to be done, but the pushback you're always going to get is like, well, these coaches can just leave whenever.
Sure. No, there's no doubt.
There needs to be, I think there should be, so Ricky Williams. I just happened to listen to something, an interview he was doing. He was asked this very question. And, Ricky Williams has his own marijuana company. He does a lot of things. He likes to do all that stuff for the Heisman Trophy winner, whatever. I thought he said something very interesting when he was asked about this very thing before the football season started. He said, look, coaches leave, players should leave. If they have an NIL deal, okay. The NIL deal, or whatever they agree to, should be kept in a trust until two things. They either graduate from said school or they get drafted in the NFL.
I agree.
If one of those two things happens, then you pay them the NIL deal, the contract that they are signing. And it's in a trust, acquire an interest until that point.
And I mean, I would even give it some more flexibility and say it has to be an agreed upon time frame, and it is a trust, and there is going to be a contract. This isn't going to be a year after year, or it's not going to be a situation where the 18-year-old kid can just say, nah, I'm done. I'm out. I'm going to go over here now.
You got to be careful because the NCAA got smashed by the Supreme Court in regards to, employees and, you start getting into contracts, you can have collective bargaining, which, hey, it's already a pro model. So I get that. But I thought that was pretty insightful that, look, You can take whatever deal you want, but you don't get it until one of those two things happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a contract in and of itself. I mean, that
Correct.
is, you are agreeing to these stipulations. And it is a time bound contract.
The problem is that would have to be agreed upon nationwide.
Yeah, and every state has different rules and different laws. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, because Alabama could say, no, we'll give it to you the second you sign, and it's done.
Right.
And Texas is sitting here trying to be honorary.
A commissioner of football's coming. It's coming.
I mean, and all these kids are making these agreements and arrangements without agents. A lot
of them have them.
I would say that if they might not
for the college
have an agent.
Deals?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They have representation. Okay. Now they may not be like super forward about it, but they're not making these decisions on their own.
For instance, Neil, Isaiah Bond showed up with his representation in Austin.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I feel a little bit better about that for their sake.
Hold on. To your point. Well, so you understand, because yes, some have legitimate representation. Some have the uncle that wants to get paid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so my representation is, Uncle Bob.
Yep.
Yes.
And he's going to do right by me and him, but also me, probably.
For sure.
So
definitely,
I just think those guys,
for instance, the Quinn Ewers of the world, those guys have representation. Isaiah Bond showed up with, he's represented by an agency, and his representative showed up in Austin.
Yeah. Well, that's good for that aspect of it. But I just think too, I mean, again, some of these guys need some sort of income as they are playing. So again, they're just, it just feels like the Wild West. And seeing, like, when I heard Florida State got in trouble for, I don't even remember what they did that was, they were using the NIL as a recruiting tool.
So supposedly what I read, yes.
Get out of here.
Supposedly what I read was the OC, Alex Atkins, drove the head of the collective to a recruiting meeting, and they got popped for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like Harbaugh buying a hamburger. Like, goodness, that's what's going to get you in trouble? Holy smokes. Yeah. There just needs to be some organization in this. And again, everybody's got to be screaming this.
I used to, I don't know how long, 5 years ago, I don't know. I was pretty dig the heels in on, they're getting a scholarship, they're getting a full ride, they're getting the best tutors, they're getting the best swag, they're getting all this stuff. No, don't pay the players. And then I see with these TV networks and these sponsors and everything will pay, and I'm like, okay, this is a bit ridiculous. The issue is you've got to find a way to stair step it or something with collective bargaining or something, because I mean, Sally Joe, who's on the track team or plays women's golf, doesn't have the same opportunities to drive income like Isaiah Bond or Quinn Ewers or Walter Nolan or all these guys. And so that's the problem, is you have all of these other sports that they lose money for the university, and football pays all those expenses and expenditures. And so it's going to be real interesting how they figure all that out.
Yeah. Yep. It is it's a mess. It is a mess.
It is. It's Pandora's box, and they ain't putting Pandora back in the box.
No, they're still sorting through it, and it doesn't look like.
You're right, though. It's gonna have to come down to a college football commissioner.
Oh, it's coming, 100%. Yeah. All right, we're at that wonderful time where that was a good discussion, by the way. We're at the Throwback Player of the Week, and we are sponsored by Victoria Equipment Auction. They have their auction on March 2nd. I've talked to Kenny and Kevin Griffin. They see them on social media. They've had a bigger auction every quarter. Please reach out to Victoria Equipment Auction. You can call Clay at 361-925 935-2444. It's Clay at victoriaequipmentauction.com for any of your equipment needs. If you're trying to get rid of your inventory or you're just trying to sell, get something to take to an auction, call those guys. They do a great job, and they're doing awesome. And we appreciate those guys as sponsor of the Throwback Player of the Week. And this week we are blessed. I have no idea who this is going to be. I'm scared to even know. But Brian Dorton has it. So D, since you ran that marathon, fire away.
You bet. And so the reason I picked this person, it is because of this quote that can be attributed to him. And this quote is, "The Dallas Cowboys may be America's team, but the Houston Oilers, they're Texas's team." And that is made by one Yule Andrew Bum Phillips.
I love it. Love it.
Oh man, this guy Bum died in 2013. By the way, died 2013 on his ranch in Goliad, Texas. That's right, boys. Died in 2013.
Not far from Schrader and the CK
Schrader,
ranch.
Texas.
John Mars.
He coached for the Oilers from 75 to 80. Record over that time span 55 and 35. Went to 2 AFC championship games during that tenure. Lost in an AFC wildcard game. Was fired in 1980 on New Year's Day, after having fired in at the end of 1980 for not reporting drug use on a recreational drug use that was happening until after the season. So appreciate that, Bud Ola Adams.
Phillips.
No, Bud Adams fired him for not reporting.
Yep.
So another reason Bud Adams can go fly.
Bud Adams is terrible. Bum Phillips is awesome.
Bud Adams is one of the most vile persons alive. His family is disgusting. Bum Phillips should have a statue in his honor outside of the Astrodome. If he doesn't, I don't know. He should. So notable coaching jobs that he's had. He coached at Texas A&M University in 1957. He was an assistant coach there. Did not know that.
I think I knew he started there.
I did.
He high schools. God, he coached at Nederland, Jacksonville, Amarillo, P&G. He coached at P&G for a year. University of Houston defensive coordinator.
Yep.
SMU defensive coordinator. Oklahoma State assistant. Worked for the Chargers. He was a coordinator for the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, and then became he was the Oilers defensive coordinator for a year, head coach for 5, and then finished off his career at the Saints. So a couple of fun quotes, because I do remember him saying that, but some others. There are 2 kinds of coaches: them's that's been fired and them's that's gonna get fired.
Fixing to be fired. Yeah.
I love it.
Can I tell you my favorite one was when
Please.
And you got everybody has heard this one.
I've got one.
When the reporter asked, it was in spring training when they were talking about Earl Campbell, and they were running the mile. And and they said, what are you going to do if or basically they said, Earl didn't make this mile time or whatever, so what are you going to do to him? And he said, well, when it's 3rd in the mile, I'm not going to give it to him. Kiss my ass. I could care less if he makes the mile or not. He's going to be on this team.
I heard
that's always been my favorite.
Mine too. Like I thought I heard it a little bit different, but I'm with you the same way. And then maybe I heard it like I don't even run a mile on 3rd and 1,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes.
that's one of my
Great.
favorites too. Yeah.
When asked by Bob Costas why he took his wife to all of the Oilers road games, because she's too ugly to kiss goodbye, was his answer.
Awesome.
Unbelievable. I will, on a personal note, like when this would have been either in high school or maybe maybe that first year after we graduated. He came in to DTAR Hospital in Victoria for he was in there for, I think he had knee surgery or something.
He didn't go to
And
Goliad Memorial.
and I guess my dad had heard rumor that he was there and found the room, and then he got me and we went up there and poked our head in, and we were able to just kind of give a, coach, how you doing? Just wanted to let you know that we're huge fans and hope you're doing okay. And he asked us to come in and talk to us for a bit, and like he was
awesome,
about as nice a guy as that you can get. And so we left there just like, dang man, that was Bum Phillips. That's awesome. That's really cool.
That is awesome.
Speaking of which, Neil, at coaching school, me and you were together, and Wade Phillips was. I remember seeing Wade Phillips there. His son.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I will give each of you a gold star right now if you can spell his first name pronounced Yule.
I teach math, not English. I'm out.
Let me give you a hint.
I'm going to try.
It starts with an O.
Oh, I've lost.
Go ahead.
Yeah, never mind.
Is there an apostrophe in there?
No, it is OAIL, pronounced Yule. Yeah, Andrew Bum Phillip. So the best thing is there was an article in get this, in the New York City, in the New York Times, about how he got the name Bum. And so Wade Phillips was the one that kind of filled in the gaps there. But it was basically when he was growing up, he got stung by some bumblebees. And I guess in like country, they don't call them bumblebees, they call them bumby bees. And they apparently his aunt would just mess with him and just start going bumby, 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 bumby. And it would scare him after he got. And so from that point on, everyone just started calling him Bumby, which just got turned into Bum.
That's awesome.
And not Yule, and not Yule,
and not Yule, which he is a junior, so his dad was Yule, and no one called him Yule. They called him
Andrew.
I have to look it up. Middle name? No, it was another fantastic nickname. I'll have to look that up. But it was, but the one thing Wade Phillips was eternally grateful is that he didn't call me Yule the Third.
Yeah. Holy cow! What a great story.
That is a great story. That's a great one. I had no idea where Dorton was going to go. That's a good one.
Flop, Bum's dad. They called him Flop. How about that?
Lord.
Flop son Bum.
Let me tell you something.
It's so great.
I'm a Mike. I like Mike Vrabel because he's old school. But the second he put that cowboy hat on, he was
so mad.
He was doomed and cursed, and that's why he got fired.
Yep, that's why they lost, and he got fired.
Yep,
and he's actually a name out there for the Cowboys, of all things.
Well, I'm surprised McCarthy still has a job. I bet he doesn't by the end of business tomorrow.
I can't believe that that game yesterday was something else.
I'm surprised he came out. I'm surprised Jerry let him come back out after halftime.
I didn't know if I sent you all this. I might have. There's so much stuff going on with just everything. But since 1997, Jennifer Lopez has 6 rings. The Cowboys have 0.
Here, I'll give you another one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, I know, right? So Belichick, when he was fired, but did y'all read about this? Or have you heard this yet recently?
Yeah.
So when Belichick was fired by the Browns, and I don't have a date on that, but
Long time ago.
long time ago, when he was assistant and he got fired by the Browns, he ran into what's his Jerry. He ran into Jerry very soon after and kind of cornered Jerry into the point of like, sir, I can coach and I want to coach, and whatever you need, anytime you need it, I'm here. And so that's resurfaced that story again.
I've got a lot that I can bash Jerry on a lot, and it's made me really despise the Cowboys, being a longtime Cowboys fan. But Bill Belichick had Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady was not at the Cowboys.
And Dak Prescott is no Tom Brady.
No.
Sorry.
Doesn't appear that way.
No.
He wasn't Tom Brady.
No.
Yeah.
I expect McCarthy to be fired in the next day or two. I expect Harbaugh to take the Chargers job, which that'll start a whole new domino effect in college football. And hey, I believe I saw today that pitchers and catchers report on Valentine's Day. So we're less than a month away from the Astros and baseball being here. So anybody want to touch on anything before we get out of here with episode 36?
I'm good.
All right. Like and subscribe. We'll have something out on social media. We usually get this out the next morning, so we appreciate everyone that listens. We've had some people listen over the holidays and non-baseball season. We really appreciate it. And we're going to do some different things, have some more guests coming into the spring and getting ready for baseball season. So looking forward to it. I appreciate anyone that takes the time to watch, listen, and give feedback. So, boys, with that being said, go Stros.
Go Stros.
Go Stros.